This is Justin.
And this is Haley. You're listening to The Price of Avocado Toast.
We're a married millennial couple wanting to normalize the conversations around money. We want to hear about your highs and your lows,
The do's and the don'ts on your path towards financial freedom. Hi Toasties, welcome to The Price of Avocado Toast.
Whether you're a first-time listener or you've been following us from the start of this thing, we are so glad to have this conversation with you today.
Today's episode is lighthearted, it is sweet, and hopefully it warms your soul. This year has been crazy. We have a lot of election craziness going on this week, and I hope that this podcast episode can really help you get your mind off of all of the insanity going on in the world right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exciting to be recording something that's a little bit more lighthearted, and a little bit better feelings during this election cycle. We're recording this on Monday night. We're going to edit it on Tuesday night during the election, and then it'll drop Wednesday morning to hopefully help you soothe over some feelings, good, bad, or otherwise, because this election cycle has been crazy.
For sure. No matter where you stand, I really hope you voted if you are from America. But regardless, I think everyone is feeling uneasy from both sides of the spectrum. So we are here to hopefully make you feel a little better on this Wednesday morning.
Yep. So we wanted to talk about generosity, and we followed the Dave Ramsey baby steps, and we don't hide that from anybody. And baby step 7 is to live and give generously. And it's the most exciting thing, at least for me. It's what I'm looking forward to most, because I have such a big heart, and I think you do too. That's why we're married. But it's really what I'm looking forward to being able to do when we're debt-free and when we have the type of money that we want to have in life. So I'm passionate about it. I'm excited about it. And I was really looking forward to record this because I think it's going to give people some better feelings on maybe a difficult morning and a difficult middle of the week. So generosity, it's an exciting thing to talk about. And I would say that what I'm most excited to do, or something that I've thought about doing when it comes to generosity when we can become debt-free, is I want to start a scholarship at the high school that I graduated from each year for like a student athlete, and maybe they did some other extracurricular, whether that was like culinary or theater arts or I don't know. I'm not sure what other extracurriculars are still going around, maybe ag, something like that. But starting a scholarship for them, even if it's as small as like $1,000 a year, getting some kid from the river, an extra grand to go to the community college with some books or something like that would be a lot of fun. And it would just be kind of cool to like read their essays and see what they say about how it's all impacted them and what the money would mean to them. I think investing in like the future, or like youth, is a really cool way to spend money. So that's what I would want to do if we could live and give generously. What about you?
Well, I want to say some of the things that you've also said. So you have also said that you want to donate to like sports teams.
Oh, for sure.
And jerseys or just whatever equipment that they needed.
For sure.
One thing that Justin did when he did get the inheritance in 2016 was he bought. Did you buy jerseys or were they shirts for the track team?
We bought like gear, like shirts and hoodies and stuff.
Yeah, like $1,000 worth of clothes for the kid, and just to do it, and that was really cool. And you had said that you want to do that again, so there was that one. And then you also have talked about the Venmo thing a lot. No, not Venmo. What is it? Donors Choose.
Donors Choose, like GoFundMe, yeah.
Just being able to like go on and donate to whatever you see.
Yeah. So like, okay, listeners, how dope would this be if like every month in your budget you just had like, I don't know, your $300 or $400 GoFundMe budget, which was like randomly when somebody's GoFundMe popped up on your timeline, you could throw a couple $100 their way. Like, I think that would be really cool because it may not be that big to us, but $200, $300 in somebody's GoFundMe can really kickstart something that could help them. Like Dave Ramsey says, when he talks about giving, he says, if you bought a cheap car for somebody, maybe that's like $1,000 or $2,000. What if you did that for 10 people? If you're able to change 10 people's lives by giving them transportation so that they can get around and be more successful, what a great feeling. And when you have that money, like, that's so cool. He uses the example of a single mom. He says, like, what if we're giving a single mom transportation by doing this? And one of my favorite sayings of his is, I love generous people. They make me smile and they make my eyes leak. And that is so cool. I love that saying. Like, because it's so true. Like, there's nobody who looks at generosity and is like, well, this sucks. You know, it's like that's the type of human that we aspire to be. That's the characteristic that we value in people. So, yeah, but I agree. The GoFundMe account will be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That'd be a good feeling.
Because people share things, you know, that they just see. Like someone's dog passed away and they need funds for the vet or whatever.
For sure.
And this person lives in Vermont and you have no idea who they are. And it'd be really cool to just donate anonymously. Or with your name. But just, you know, I don't even know you, but here's some money.
Mm-hmm. There's also Shea Serrano, who's a writer for The Ringer. He has the FOH Army on Twitter, and he's constantly giving out money for, like, people's rent or their bills and stuff. And, like, doing that just sounds legit. Like, just being able to be like, hey, I've got a couple of extra bucks at the start of the month. Who needs help covering their bills? Shoot me your Venmo or your Cash App, and let's get your bills taken care of because you deserve it. And, like, he's constantly just hooking people up. It's so dope.
Like, I got you.
Yeah. It's pretty dope.
That would be really cool. And, like, $300, $400, $500 a month for giving sounds right now absolutely insane.
Mm-hmm.
But once we have no debt payments and once things are really, you know, chilling out, then I feel like that's totally doable. And
Totally
of
doable.
course, every year we'll make more and more money, so then you can totally do something like that. So that's the dream, man, to just have cash like that and just be able to give it to people generously. Like, hey, I have this. You need it. Here you go.
Yeah. I said on Twitter the other day that, like, for me and my family, we will give generously because I know that it will be returned to us in kind. Like, I know that through our giving generously, that will be returned to us through one way or another, through others giving to us or through, you know, karma coming back and supporting us or from our hearts being full just because we did the right thing. Like, that is a good enough return for me.
So for me, I've had outrageous generosity 2 times. One of the same people did it 2 times. And basically, the first time was I'm hard of hearing. Some of the listeners know that if you're just tuning in. Hi, my name's Haley. I'm partially deaf. But basically, hearing aids are not covered by insurance. They're really expensive. They range from like $5,000 to $8,000 for a set, because I have 2. And they're not covered by insurance at all. So you have to pay for that completely out of pocket. So my audiologist was able to kind of cut a deal with me because he knew I was super broke. Like, I had no money at all. And he was willing to sell me these hearing aids, demo hearing aids, at cost. And I don't totally know that he was allowed to do that, but he made it happen for me. So I'm still appreciative of the demos that I don't think I'm supposed to have. But anyway, so he was going to sell these to me for $2,000. And that's still way more money than I had. I was in the negatives. So I made a GoFundMe. So this is where my GoFundMe comes into this. Like, being able to just see random people's GoFundMes and donate would be so freaking cool. So I made a GoFundMe, put it on my Facebook. You know, I'm like, I had these really cool new hearing aids that were like the most tech savvy ones ever. I was able to hear like the crickets and the blinker in the car, and I could never hear those things before. And I was just testing them out. I think he gave me like a month free. And then I had to pay. And so I had my GoFundMe, and my friends and family rallied, and I think I had them paid for in like 2 days.
That's awesome.
And I was able to pay for them. It was amazing. And that was through crowdsourcing. And so I really want to be able to give a pair of hearing aids to a child. A child in need would be really cool, but just a person who really couldn't afford it would be cool too.
Mm-hmm.
But then that same audiologist came back. I needed new hearing aids several years later after that, because they only last like 4 or 5 years. And he made a deal with me, and he gave me another pair like totally for free.
Yeah.
Because I was going to teach his grandkids swimming lessons.
Yeah. So
I mean,
dope.
Literally gave them to me. Again, they were demos. Still don't know if he's allowed to do that. But it was the coolest thing ever. I didn't do anything to deserve that. I mean, he didn't know me on some other level. He went to the gym that I worked at, but that's it. And I was a client of his. But his job as an audiologist is to sell hearing aids, to make money.
Yeah.
It's commission-based. But he just saw something in me and was extremely outrageously generous 2 times. And just really cool.
Yeah. Super cool. It's a good feeling.
Really cool. Yeah, I totally want to do that for someone someday. And we will.
We will. Exactly. When we can live and give generously, we certainly will. And I'm looking forward to the day when we can do that for somebody. And I think it would be cool if it was a young kid because obviously we're teachers and we want, access to quality education and equitable access to that education. So it'd be nice to be able to provide a student with something like that so that they can be successful. That'd be really cool.
And some people might send me messages of ways I could get free hearing aids, and I tried and I tried and I tried, and I got rejected for every program possible. I got rejected several times for Social Security. I worked with the Department of Rehabilitation for a few years, and they basically told me I couldn't go to a 4-year college. They would only support me financially with like hearing aids and stuff if I went to a junior college and only studied certain things. It was just really restrictive. So they weren't supportive for all people. So there are ways to, get free hearing aids if you really need them, but you have to do what they want you to do, and that wasn't going to work for me.
Yeah, you don't get to put parameters on somebody else's life. You know what I mean? That doesn't feel very good.
Oh, for sure. Like, you have to go to the junior college and study math. Like, no, that's not what I want to do. I don't want to be a math person.
Yeah, no way. So cool. Let's share some of the generosity stories that people reached out to us with. We asked on Instagram. We asked on Twitter. It ended up on Facebook. We just reached out and said, hey, tell us your generosity story so we know, or so we can share with our listeners some good stuff that's going on in the world and some good feelings this week. So somebody messaged me and said that their generosity story is something that they get to witness. And it's every week. This person's parents feed over 300 people and they don't charge a dime. They've been doing it for a while now, and in the beginning, it all came out of their pockets. Even now, most of it does come from their pockets, but they're starting to get more donations and support from their community. And I actually know about this because I've seen this person on Twitter. I've interacted with them a bunch because their brother also has a foundation that helps get some coats to kids during the winter, which is really cool. And so I was messaging them back and I was like, this is so awesome because it's so clear that your family is generous. This isn't just like a one-time thing. Like, it's obviously a value that they instilled in their children, and they're still continuously demonstrating it every single day. And I just think that's so awesome. Food is one of those things that people come together over. We kind of put aside differences at the dinner table, and we can just bond over that connection, and that's a really good feeling. And food scarcity and lack of, comfort with food is one of those really troubling things in America. In a world that is so full of gluttony and overconsumption, the fact that we have people that go hungry every single day is devastating. So for this family to be helping to change that is super generous and super cool. And to do it out of their own pocket is just awesome.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if it's like is it a restaurant or how do?
No, I think they just do it by I think they work like out of a commercial kitchen and like put together meals for folks. I'm not sure exactly how they do it. I know that it's definitely grown over time for sure.
That's awesome. That sounds really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Something you do every single week.
Every single week.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. So I got a couple from people, but this one I really want to share. This is from one of my really close friends, and this person has long lived been my broke friend. She's never had much money. Everything's really just been like paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. And she had 2 things that she shared with me. One was when she experienced generosity, and then the other one was when she was able to be generous. So when she experienced generosity was when I actually bought a ticket for her to go see one of her favorite DJs for her birthday several years ago. And my love language is giving. I
Mhm.
love to give things to people, and especially if they are memories and like things we can go do together. That just warms and fills my heart.
Mhm.
I didn't know it meant so much to her. So for her telling me that later, I mean, this was probably 5-6 years ago. I'm like, wow, that really meant a lot to her.
Mhm.
She couldn't afford that, but I really wanted to go do that with her. So
That's cool.
that was cool to see that one come around. And she got her first full-time position this year and was able to actually give a family member some money when they needed it for the first time ever. And it was $100. It's not a whole lot, but that's the first time she's ever had an excess of $100 to even be able to give to someone. So I just thought that that was really cool. You know, she's been so thankful every time people have come to her and been able to do things for her. And now she's finally in the position where she's making steady income and she can give back to some people. And she was really proud of herself, and it just felt really awesome to be able to do that.
Yeah, and $100 is, you know, that's a small amount of expendable cash. But I remember how it felt when we first finally were like, wait a minute, this is $100 that already doesn't have a name to it.
Yeah.
Like, this is $100 that we actually can spend on things like that. And so it's really cool that for the first time, when this person does have that money, that's what they choose to do with it instead of something for themselves. Like, that takes a really big step. So it's pretty cool that they were able to do that and that they recognize that as something that provides value for them. So that's awesome. I love that one. Okay, this next one is so cool. And the person who sent it to me is a listener of the Friday Night Life podcast. And this is a podcast that I really like listening to about coaches, the football season, but more importantly, coaches and their spouse and all that their spouse does to help with the crazy Friday Night Life. And this is a listener that I connected with from that podcast. So shout out the Friday Night Life podcast. This person said, a friend came to our aid when my wife and I were head over heels in debt. Long story, but the short of it is, they took care of our debt and flipped us back into the black in one big, generous payment. It changed our lives while we were raising our kiddos. Like, that is so cool to me that somebody just came along and was like, hey, y'all are young parents. We see that you have young kids. We are going to instantaneously change your life. And who knows, that debt could have been something as big as $5,000 to $10,000, which being able to help somebody like that and give so generously to change their lives as they had young kids, that's just awesome. That is so cool. I was so glad that this person wrote in because what a great story. That's a great generosity story.
That's such a gift.
Yeah, huge gift. Because it's not like they're just folks on their own trying to make it work and they've accelerated the process, And I'm not going to get on people in that situation, but as a parent, when you've got this little baby or these kiddos running around and you're feeling like you're failing them or you're feeling like, what am I doing? I've got to clean up my act so that they can be better and they can have more. Having somebody help you out so that you can provide for your babies is awesome. That's just such a gift. So generous. And so it's awesome, like I said, that they were willing to share that story with us.
Yeah, I don't even know the situation of the people who gave that money. I'm just imagining being in that situation, wanting so badly to see, like, my friends or family or whoever it was, wanting to see them and their kids be successful.
Yeah.
And knowing that I would be able to, give them that jump start would be really cool. That's a great one.
Yeah,
Love
super
that.
awesome.
So I got one about a mom that was just kind of emotionally MIA for a few years, and a big sister and her other sister. So two sisters tag teamed together to make sure that their little sister could transition to college. They paid for her senior portraits and all of her college application fees when mom was not really around. And then they bought her a ticket for like a siblings trip with all the sisters for her graduation.
That's really
cool. And she
cool.
sent me videos and I literally cried. It was the sweetest thing. Sister on the graduation day opening this card saying they're going to take her on this trip.
That's so cool.
So sweet.
That's awesome. And, that's not particularly a ton of money. You could
I think they went to Arizona.
Yeah, you can work for a little bit and put that together. But it just shows you what generosity does for others and how it makes others feel. It might not be that big in the grand scheme of things of our own lives, but when we give to somebody in need or when we give to somebody so that they can feel good, the reward is so great because of how it makes them feel, because what it means to them and how important and magnificent it is to them. Again, like Dave Ramsey says, I love generous people. They make me smile. They make my eyes leak. That's just awesome. Okay, the last one I want to share is, again, not a ton of money, but this is one of those things like you're giving a memory to somebody that forever makes them feel good. And this one was really cool as a sports fan. So this person messaged me and said that they got free tickets to the World Series when the San Francisco Giants were in the 2014 World Series from a total stranger just because they went to the same law school as them. And I know this human, and I know how hard they have had to work post-graduating law school to get a job as a working lawyer. I know how hard it is. It's not like you're just a lawyer and you go and start making a ton of money. It is not that easy. So for them to be able to go and enjoy the World Series game in 2014 simply because somebody else went to the same law school as them is pretty cool. And that's a really kind gesture. And obviously they still remember it 6 years later that they got to go and see Madison Bumgarner pitch for the San Francisco Giants and then win the World Series eventually that year. So super cool.
Yeah, for a sports fan, that would be like life-changing.
Yeah, exactly. Like I remember when you took me to Nashville and we went to the Titans game. Like I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. We showed up and went to the Titans store like a couple of days before the game, and I recorded it and was like, I'm in heaven. Like I'm surrounded by all of these jerseys and I know who these players are, and this is so cool because I'm not around just like a bunch of 49ers fans in Northern California. Like I'm at my own personal like dome, and it was so cool then going to the game and being on the sidelines and like having people sign my jersey, and so like it was awesome. It was rad. So much fun. So yeah, as a sports fan, totally makes sense.
Wow, that'd be cool. So I have two more.
Cool.
Okay, this next one seems simple, but I can totally see how this could change someone's life if their month is in complete shambles and they have no money. But paying for a stranger's groceries.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Just completely anonymously, like, hey, I want to pay for that person's groceries. You pay ahead of time and then let it be.
Yeah, absolutely. There's that show, What Would You Do, with John Quinones. And they set that up a couple of times where, like, it's very clearly a struggling single mom with her children at the store, and she's going to have to start putting things back. And they check and see what the customer behind them chooses to do. And so often, if not every single time, people are like, what are they missing? I'll help cover it. Or if they're able to, they'll even say, like, you save your money, I'll take care of the whole tab. And they ask these people, like, okay, why did you choose to do that? And so many of them have said, other people did this for me, and I finally saw it as my opportunity to give back. And it's a small thing, again, but you're right. It could change somebody's month if you take care of the groceries for them one time, or if you help them out, covering the rest of the groceries, whatever it is.
I've never done this one, and I've actually never seen that happen in a grocery store, but I imagine that would be like really emotional. I think I'd cry.
Yeah, for sure.
But several times I have witnessed, and I've had it happen to me, and I've done it to other people, where I pay for a table's tab at a restaurant, just completely randomly, and that feels really cool too. So if you're ever able to do that this month and going into November and December, it's Thanksgiving. We're supposed to be thankful and grateful for all these things. And it's the month of Christmas, so we're giving and all of these big feelings. And if you're able to have, and if you have anything extra to spare, and if you are able, and it works in your budget, try to do something like that. Even if it's someone's coffee in Starbucks in the line or something.
So can I share one generosity story that just popped into my mind before you share your last one?
Yes, you can.
Okay, so this is something that I did with my twin brother, Jared. Shout out, Jared. When we got the inheritance, or I think it was like maybe a year or so after, and we obviously still had tons of money in the bank from that, we went and took out, I think we each took out $600 in cash in 50s.
I remember this.
Yeah, and we went to the day labor center where a bunch of Latinos were waiting for work on like a Saturday or something, and we just started handing out $50 bills. It said, "Hey, you guys, like, thanks for what you do. Thanks for working so hard. Thanks for taking care of our community. Hopefully you're able to breathe a little bit easier today." And they were super thankful. It was super cool. And that's something that made me really proud just because, we live in Northern California and we see all that the Latino community does to make sure that wine country goes smooth and that people here have their wine and stuff. And they just don't get the credit they deserve and the love and respect they deserve. So it was really cool to be able to give back to the Latino community. And then obviously now, after having taught in the Latino community and stuff, like just beautiful, beautiful people. So that felt really good.
I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And that even during that time, I felt like, wow, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Just go hand out on a Saturday morning or whatever. But it was for a good cause, and it made you feel good. And looking back now, I don't think that was money that was wasted because
me neither.
you literally had hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, for sure.
So, giving doesn't have to be even $100. It can be, like I said, a small thing. It can be a Starbucks coffee for someone.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a very small gesture. It can be your time. If you don't have any money, you can give your time.
Yeah.
You can volunteer, be generous in other ways. It does not have to involve money. And for this last one, someone said, my husband's family gifted us with some of the inheritance that they got recently. So the husband's family got an inheritance, and then they weren't entitled to give it to anybody, but they gifted it to some part of it to someone's family.
That's cool. What I like about that too is that it continues on the legacy of that family member, right? Like that's the other really cool thing about becoming debt free and doing better in life is the legacy stretches so far. You're able to do so much for so many in your own family that your legacy just continues and grows and grows. And it's this massive tree that just buries its roots into the community. And that's so cool because that's kind of what that does. That legacy pushes out into other parts of the family and other people thrive and do well because of that. That's really cool.
And it's so easy. I'm imagining being in a situation where you receive an inheritance thinking, well, great, I just hit the jackpot. Mine.
Hey, I've been there.
That's it.
We've been there.
I mean, you did give some of it.
Yeah, for sure. But we've been there to where we immediately start thinking of what we can do for ourselves.
Yeah, and it's just gone.
That's really cool that they did that. That's awesome. Very cool.
Bread and the love. So I just challenge you guys this month and going into really just the holiday season, try to be generous.
Mm-hmm.
And that does not, like I just said, does not have to be money, but be generous with your time. Be generous with your money if you have any extra money. It really, really goes far, and it touches people's hearts. It touches their lives. It changes people's lives, especially the grocery thing, man. I was just thinking of, like, a single mom. A lot of kids' parents that I teach, like, if I were to just pay for their groceries, holy moly, that would change their whole month. All these little things, they are small, but they are very impactful. So
they matter.
Try to, be intentional with your generosity.
Mm-hmm. And be generous with yourselves. Like we said, we wanted to talk about this episode because this week's going to be hard for some people. And it's not going to feel great for some. So be generous. Be generous with yourselves and take it easy. Do whatever fills your own mental health cup. And Filling Our Cup talks about living and giving generously. Again, we like generous people because they make us smile and they make our eyes leak. So we're looking forward to being able to give generously.
I feel like now is the time where we should say that we're going to do something. So what should we do this month that's going to be generous? Because we can talk all about it, but we got to do it.
That's a good one. I think we should, I don't know, maybe take more time to think about that. We do have giving in the budget, so that's cool. We put it in our budget because it's something that we want to do. So, I don't know.
I've seen all over the Dave Ramsey Facebook page tipping the bill.
Mm-hmm.
You go somewhere, you spend $50, you tip $50 to the server. So that's something I wanted to do.
That's something we could definitely do too, because $50 is our giving limit for the month. So that would be really easy to do.
You want to do that?
That'd be really cool.
Because we could use the giving budget plus the restaurant budget, mesh them together, and then we can do everything we want without spending extra money. High five.
I love that. That's a great idea. We'll have to do that and post a picture of it. Mm-hmm.
Not to brag. We're not sitting here being like, look at us, giving all these money to people, but,
Mm-hmm.
We're not just talking about being generous or wanting to be generous and then not doing it. I think it's important that we talk the talk and walk the walk. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Talk the talk and walk the walk. Yeah. There is a strange amount of people who do stuff simply to get clout, and that doesn't feel very good.
It doesn't.
It's kind of like, would you still have done that if the cameras were off, or if you and your friends weren't filming a social experiment? Would you still just do that because? That's what you'd hope, right? Is it you would just do that anyways? I saw a couple cool things like that from kids in Halloween. They'd go up to a bowl this year, and the bowl was empty on the porch, and they weren't trick or treating, right? Because people wouldn't come out. So it's just if the bowl was empty, it's oh well. So a couple things where kids would put candy back in the bowls so that the next trick or treater that came by had some candy to give, and it got caught on people's Ring doorbell cameras.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, I think it's super cool. Kids just being awesome. That's the epitome of generosity for a 10-year-old too. Is dude, I gave some candy back so that the next kid behind me could have some candy.
That reminds me of last year. I had a kid that I actually had my principal in the classroom, and a kid was asking for a pencil, and I couldn't hear him because I'm deaf. And she was like, the kid's asking you for a pencil, and I'm like, I don't give pencils to the kids. Tell them to ask someone else for a pencil. So he goes, and he's like, hey guys, I need a pencil. And 10 kids stood up. They were like, I have a pencil for you. People are just nice, and they want to give things to people. When they have extra pencils, they want to give them to people to help them out in a time of need. So you don't have to be 10. You can be 50. A pencil, a Starbucks, a $50 tip. All these things have a huge impact on people.
Mm-hmm. The little ripple waves of generosity in the public. I love it. That's awesome. All right, you guys, make sure that you send us your generosity stories too. Just because we've already done the episode doesn't mean we don't want to hear your generosity stories. Those things still make us feel good and make us smile in times of high emotional stress. So make sure to send them over. That's going to do it on this episode of The Price of Avocado Toast. As always, we are so glad to have this conversation with you guys, and we're so proud to be a part of this community with you all, you generous, generous folks. As always, happy budgeting.
You've got this, Toasties. Thank you for listening to The Price of Avocado Toast. If you vibed with this episode, share it with a friend. We'd love to continue building our listening community.
If you're interested in speaking more with a financial coach, hit up our coach Ryan at MeFinanciallyFree on Instagram. Use the promo code HELP50 in the consultation notes section to receive 50% off.